You have exactly 3 seconds to like and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I'll appear in your dreams tonight. To ask for a donation for that cup of coffee, link below.
1988. Military helicopters took off, carrying soldiers from the boot, wearing force. The pair of planes' destination is the capital city of Tehran. Their mission was to rescue 52 American hostages. But they never reached their destination. A giant comb-like sphere erupted in the middle of the desert. 8 American servicemen survived the disaster. Top-secret mission turned into a historical disaster. The operation was cancelled. And no one was saved. Confidential equipment and documents were left behind right in enemy territory. What exactly happened? To analyze this tragedy, let's look. At that time, the United States was facing serious economic and political challenges. President Jimmy Carter had to deal with the aftermath of the global energy crisis. Inflation in the US is rising. Rising public discontent pushed Carter's grip on power to the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, major geopolitical event completely altered the balance of power. In Iran, the 1979 Islamic Revolution was successful, and the Palatine Crown Prince, longtime strategic partner of the United States in the region, was overthrown. Ayatollah Khomeini returns from France to take over power. The Catholic state of Iran was officially established. The new regime harbored extremely strong anti-Western sentiments. They viewed the United States as an imperialist power that exploited their national resources. Recently, diplomatic relations between the two countries have frozen. Prince Pahlavi discovered he had cancer and traveled to the United States for medical treatment with the consent of President Jimmy Carter. This humanitarian gesture is a political misstep. The Tantine government believes this is a plot to restore the old dynasty. The anger of the local people reached its peak on the morning of 1970. Iranian students and protesters stormed the American embassy in Tehran. This group of people breached the security barrier and took control of the building. They searched every room and detained all the staff at the embassy. This incident directly violates international conventions on diplomatic immunity. According to the law, attacking the embassy is equivalent to a declaration of war. This act shocked the entire world. It reached the U.S. government and triggered an unprecedented national security crisis. However, not all Americans in the embassy were taken hostage. On that day, 6 diplomats were fortunate enough to escape while on official duty. This group of professionals ran through the streets and successfully took refuge in the Canadian ambassador's residence. Thanks to the cooperation between the Canadian government and the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, 6 people were given fake passports and subsequently evacuated safely from Iran. But the harsh truth is that 52 American hostages are still being held captive in the basement of the command center. No one knows whether they are alive or dead. The health and safety of the victims became the White House's top security priority. The lives of 52 American citizens are hanging by a thread. The White House is deeply divided internally. People were divided into 2 factions with completely opposing viewpoints. One side advocates diplomatic negotiation solution and the imposition of economic sanctions to weaken the other. This group argues that any military intervention risks prompting the hostage takers to resort to extreme measures against the hostages. The other side is determined to use force. The U.S. leveraged its superior military force to conduct a hostage rescue operation. Despite diplomatic efforts lasting over 5 months, the results remain completely deadlocked. Under increasing pressure, President Carter made a crucial decision. He dismissed plans for diplomatic negotiations. The U.S. military has officially been assigned the mission to rescue the hostages. The operation, codenamed Eagle Claw, has been approved. From this point on, the entire responsibility for resolving the crisis was transferred to the Pentagon. The tactical challenge posed was extremely difficult. The detention facility is located in a densely populated urban area. The enemy's air defense system is still functioning very effectively. The Department of Defense entrusted the raid to an entirely new unit, the Measurement Force, under the command of Colonel Charge With. This is the U.S. unit specializing in counter terrorism and hostage rescue. However, they had never done it on such a large international scale before. The most challenging issue is choosing the right mode of transportation. The jet cannot land in the city center. Armored vehicles would take too long to cross the border. The only feasible option is a transport helicopter. The Department of Defense has deployed the Navy's Arch V-3DC Stallion heavy-duty helicopter. It has capacity to transport dozens of fully equipped soldiers and boasts a range of. However, this decision contained a fatal mistake. The RAS-53D is specifically designed for amphibious assault missions. At sea, it works in a humid and clean air environment. 53D's engine is very complex and lacks a dedicated dust and sand filter, making it extremely risky to bring such a marine device ashore. The second mistake the campaign made lay in its overly fragmented organizational structure of forces. The combat formation is assembled from various different units. Combat soldiers are part of the United States. The Air Force provides fixed-wing transport aircraft and fuel. The self-tensioning equipment is the property of the Navy. Ultimately, the pilot was assigned from the Marine Corps. This overlapping structure creates an extremely cumbersome command system. The entire unit did not have enough time to conduct comprehensive joint training. They use different signaling systems and radio terminology. This is the perfect formula for a tactical disaster. In addition, the rescue scenario was designed with an astonishing level of complexity. It lasted for 2 consecutive nights to take advantage of the darkness. That created a fatal risk. If even one link breaks, campaign structure will immediately collapse. Therefore, this operational plan requires absolute precision in terms of time to move troops deep into enemy territory without being detected. U.S. found a desolate area in Central. The location chosen as the secret rendezvous point was called Desert No. The first night began with infiltration of airspace. 3 MC-130 aircraft carried Delta Force troops will depart from Oman. 3 other EC-130 aircraft carried fuel alongside them. At the same time, 8 helicopters took off from the aircraft carrier USS Ness, which was then anchored in the Arabian Sea. Both branches of the military must meet precisely in desert. There, the helicopter squadron will directly refuel from the transport aircraft. After refueling, they flew the commando team to Desert Area 2. This location was right on the outskirts of the enemy capital. The soldiers will sleep in their equipment and hide here for an entire day. Phase 2 took place the following night. The undercover agents had already purchased 6 large trucks to transport Delta Force soldiers and the data set. The raiding party will use weapons or brute force to eliminate the guard. Their mission was to rescue 52 hostages and bring them all to a nearby. Finally, the helicopter landed and evacuated everyone from Iran with the support of the From a military analytical perspective, this plan contains too many dependent variables. A good operational plan always includes contingency plans, and the commander needs a large margin of safety. The Eagle Claw campaign goes against this principle. The plan, designed as a linear sequence where the code elements must function perfectly. Small mistake could hide the entire system. And the campaign overlooked the extreme weather conditions of the Middle East. Before we continue, C Media would like to introduce the main sponsor of this Audible, the world's largest licensed audiobook library. From is where you get the earliest access to original knowledge and the greatest works on the planet. Audible let you read anytime, even when you're busy. With incredibly immersive cinematic sound quality. Specific. Register via the link exclusively for CD Media audience members to receive a free month of access along with a bonus book. On the evening of April 24, 1980, Phase 1 of the operation began. The C-130 transport aircraft squad successfully penetrated Iranian airspace. They landed safely at the designated landing point number 1. Defensive perimeter was immediately established around the landing zone. However, the group of 8 helicopters began to encounter serious trouble. A strict silence order was issued to avoid signal interception. Pilots are not permitted to use voice communication equipment as they flew further inland. An unusual meteorological phenomenon occurred locally. It's called Habud. This is a typical desert. This thick wall of sand reduced visibility to zero, with infrared night vision completely disabled and communication impossible. The flight formation was forced to disperse to avoid collision. The tactical movement pattern was completely disrupted. At this point, the weakness of an engine lacking a filter begins to show. Fine particles penetrated the engine compartment of the helicopter, crushing the system. Damage to equipment quickly became apparent. The sixth rising pole indicates a main impeller water fault due to excessive pressure. Decided to turn back to the aircraft carrier to save his life. Later, the electronic navigation system on plane number 5 malfunctioned due to dust. Completely disoriented, it had to give up halfway. According to the specifications outlined in the operational plan, the campaign required a minimum of 6 helicopters to ensure sufficient payload capacity for personnel and equipment. The team has reached the minimum safety threshold. They no longer have room for any further technical errors. The servicemen in the air are under immense psychological pressure. The situation extremely underground. The situation didn't unfold according to the intelligence report either. The family's perception of the area as a deserted place with few people passing through was the chosen landing site turned out to be next to it. Local trail used by residents. Just as the American soldiers began to dismount, passenger bus drove past. To maintain secrecy, the special forces were forced to fire warning shots, shoot at the tires of the vehicle, and temporarily detain 4 passengers to protect military secrets. But the worst is yet to come. A tanker truck waiting for oil continues to speed towards the storage area. Upon spotting the military, the driver did not stop but deliberately sped away, facing the risk of being discovered. Drew his anti-tank weapon and set the tanker truck on fire. Instant. Thousands of liters of fuel exploded, creating a massive column of fire that illuminated a vast area. The element of secrecy has vanished into thin air. The column of smoke and fire, visible from a distance, would certainly attract the attention of Iranian security forces. The opposing side may be sending forces to investigate, putting immense time pressure on commanders on the ground. It took over an hour and a half for the 6 helicopters to arrive at the rendezvous point, with the pilots panicking. However, during a technical inspection before continuing the journey, the ventilator revealed that helicopter number 2 had a completely failed hydraulic pump system. This incident rendered the vehicle incapable of safe flight control and necessitated its removal from service from 6 initially remain. This figure exceeds the minimum target set in the plan. An urgent report was sent to Washington. President Carter ordered the entire operation cancelled and troops withdrawn immediately. This seemingly simple decision turned into a desire to fly back out to the ocean. The helicopter needs to be refueled. The aircraft had to move to get closer to the pump nozzles. The landing area was now shrouded in darkness. The airplane's propellers stirred up a cloud of stardust, creating a thick haze. Conditions for overcoming the addiction to space blind. The pilot's sense of direction was completely extinguished. This was a time when the lack of coordinated branch of service training had serious consequences. The people who still provide ground-based navigation signals are Air Force soldier pilots. On the other hand, are familiar with the symbols used in Marine Corps correspondence. The RH-530 helicopter crashed violently into the fuel-laden C-130 transport aircraft. Tens of thousands of liters of liquid instantly exploded. This incident resulted in the immediate deaths of 8 American service members, in 5 Air Force personnel and 3 Marines. There was a risk of the fire spreading and the ammunition on board starting to explode due to the high temperature. The emergency evacuation order was issued amidst chaos. The U.S. forces withdrew on the remaining C-130 aircraft and left Iranian. They abandoned the helicopter 5 years earlier and forgot to destroy the top secret intelligence files located in the cockpit. The abandoned documents provided Iran with crucial intelligence about the United States. The defeated army took off and flew back to base in humiliation. The following morning, Iranian security force took over the scene in Desert No. Images of the abandoned American aircraft and military equipment were widely broadcast on international media. President Jimmy Captain appeared on television to apologize. Politically, the failure of the campaign completely shattered his chances of re-election. In November of that year, Jumer suffered a crushing defeat in the presidential race against Ronald Reagan. 4. The wait will have to be extended by hundreds of days. They were only released by the Iranian government on May 20, 1981, after 44 days of detention. The flight that brought these people back to their country took off on the very day Reagan was inaugurated. That coincidence is imbued with the irony of political history. Later, the Pentagon released its investigative report on the Operation Great Claude Golem. The document clearly indicates that the reason for the failure did not lie in the bravery of the American soldiers. The tragedy stemmed from a murky command system. The participating forces also lacked close coordination in their operations. The entire plan was deemed. The deaths of 8 soldiers in the Iranian desert were a wake-up call for the American military. Operation Eagle Claw was a tactical loss, but it served as a powerful catalyst for the military to completely overhaul its Special Operations doctrine. In 1987, the SHOCOM Special Operations Command was established. For the first time, Special Forces unit from the Navy, Army, and Air Force were brought together under a unified command to train together. At the same time, the Army also established the Stoker Squadron to undertake flight missions in the most extreme weather conditions. A force could have turned the tide if it had appeared. The events in the Iranian desert in 1980 left many valuable lessons in modern military history. The harsh realities of the battlefield are always beyond the reach of any advanced weapons technology. Cannot mask the flaws in the regulatory system. The pride of a superpower is utterly meaningless in the face of the limitations of nature. The core strength of an army lies not solely in the quantity of equipment it possesses. The ability to shed conservatism and adapt is the decisive factor for survival. In the most perfect war heroines are forged from the most humiliating tragedies.